everybody. This is No Excuses. My name's Rodney Arbona. I'm your host, and I'm here with my very special guest, KHOOL Albert, who's been taking care of sharing her music with us for many a year, and her fingers have been playing that piano so beautifully. How are you, KHOOL?
I'm good this morning. How are you, Rodney?
I'm doing very well, thank you. KHOOL, you got such a great career, many years sharing so much beautiful music with us, and I just wanted the audience to get to know who you are as a person, because your music speaks volumes of who you are. I could feel your energy. There's definitely some stories behind it. So I understand you grew up in a little town in Georgia, huh?
Yes, I grew up in Hiram, Georgia, and when I grew up it was very rural. And of course, you can tell my southern accent.
Yes.
Living in the South, and it was the South. I mean, it's still the South now, but it was really the South when I was born and grew up, and very different than it is today.
What was the population back then? One hand or two?
Well, it was a little more than that, but it was different, very different.
And I understand your grandmother had a big influence on you with your music.
My grandmother played the piano, and actually where I grew up, it was a very poor area, so we had a piano, and we were fortunate to have a piano, and so she would play, and she played for everybody. I mean, it was a big thing. People would come gather around. We'd have big, events, and she'd play the piano, and she'd dream songs, and she'd get up and play them. And what she played, in a lot of ways was kind of honky-tonk a little bit, but it was kind of, ragtime, what you would hear back, and maybe more New Orleans style. But she would play for everyone, and it was a big thing. And she discovered she had cancer, and back then the treatment was, just remove it. So they amputated her arm. And so she really was a positive person, and she said, okay, I'm going to play with one arm, and I'm going to teach you this part that I would play with my right hand. So she did that.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Now, was there a time when your grandmother lost her arm? Did you play one side of the piano and she played the other?
I did. We would play together. I would play part. And then she passed away, and I started piano lessons and started studying as I grew up, and was fortunate to have some really great teachers, and went to college, got a degree in classical piano, but that was not without, challenges and struggles.
Sure.
Because I learned growing up honky-tonk piano. Classical environment is like, well, we're going to teach you how to play all over again. It's like, well... Right. Okay, I'll do the best I can. And so that, I did graduate with a performance degree, but
yes, you did.
Had to kind of struggle with that. And then I went into pop music, and I had to relearn to play that. It's like, well, you can't play classical music in the pop world. So, life has been about relearning and reshaping, relearning, and reinventing myself, as I would say.
So let's go back a little bit to when you were a little girl and you were playing music. Were you playing in school? And was it performances as well? And what age did you realize that, hey, this is something I'm really loving?
There weren't that many performance opportunities. I did play for some things, like they used to have talent shows, and I would play talent shows, and they had the 4-H club, and they'd have the Beta Club, and so I would always they'd always stick me playing. It's like, okay, you've got to go do this. You've got to go enter this contest. It's like, I don't want to, because I was very it's like, I don't want to play. No, you have to. You have to represent us. So I would go to 4-H competitions and do my best. I would usually come in second to this guy who I'm still friends with to this day. He was always better because he was about a year older, but he was fabulous, and he still plays today as well. And the Beta Club, and I would do all kinds of things that people say, okay, you're the only one that can go. You have to do it.
So you represented the neighborhood, which is great.
That I did.
That's fantastic. And when you got into high school, was there more opportunity for you to play performances then? The same thing. I would perform in competitions for the school, and I won a few times, and then I got tired of that. So then there weren't many opportunities other than just competitions. Okay. So, and now we're in college, and obviously this is something that you're doing going forward. You're completely engulfed in it. And now you're learning so many different techniques. How was it to undo some of the techniques like you mentioned, playing honky-tonk and things like that, which is great music. But now, as you know, schools got their own ideas of what they think we should know.
Well, to be honest with you, Rodney, when I was in training for my classical degree, I really thought all I wanted to do was to teach. It's like I had no ambition to perform. It's like, that would be nice one day, but I'm studying here to teach. I want to get a performance degree, but that was my goal. And I never thought about performing. So when I got out of college, then I started teaching and thought, well, you know, I just got sucked into the whole music business. It's like people call me and say, well, can't you come play here? It's like, well, no, I really don't want to. I mean, really, you'll have to, and then I would go play, and it's like, well, no, you can't play classical, you got to go back. And so I started playing with bands and groups, and started playing nightclubs, and just kind of went through the whole lounge acts and all of that.
So when did the teaching career then end, and you said to yourself, okay, I just need to continue on with these performances, because too many people are asking, and I'm sure they're scratching their head, what do you mean you don't want to play?
I quit teaching, and then I went on traveling. I was cruise ships. I did cruise ships. I went to Europe. I stayed in Europe for 6 months at a time, and I went to Europe like on 4 different tours and traveled, and also had children at the time. I had married, had children, and so when I was traveling, I said my requirement is that I travel with my children. They said, okay, no problem, as long as you pay for them. I was like, okay. So then they weren't there the entire time, but I did bring they were young, and I brought them over, and we got to tour Europe, and my son even went to Sweden. My son even went to Swedish school for a little bit, and it speaks languages today. And
that's great.
Where there's a will, there's a way. I wanted to travel at that point. I really wanted to see the world, and so it was.
And it gave that to you.
It did. It gave it to me, and of course they didn't go on the cruise ship. That was very confining. But I did a cruise ship, and it was over the summer. That was a great experience.
Now, did you purposely schedule to go to Europe when the kids were out of school, or it just happened that way?
They would say, okay, here's our schedule, and I'd say, okay, I want to go in the summer. And there were even some other artists that were very resentful. How come you only get to go in the summer? They love me. I'm sorry. No.
What's not to love?
Well, I was lucky.
Yeah. And what's it like? I mean, you're coming from the United States and you're playing the music that we know of you, and you go to Europe. They're very receptive in Europe of our music, aren't they?
Very, very receptive. And it's very well received and more versatile.
And what do you mean by that?
Their taste is more versatile. They still love going back to Frank Sinatra. They still love going back to classics. And they still love Elvis, and they still love, honestly, they still love, and they're very open to, like Mascanata. That's the reason I decided to remake Mascanata. They're very into different styles of music, European, more world music, Brazilian, Latin music. So they're much more versatile in their taste. And when I was playing on the ship, I heard a lot of different types of music, and that kind of opened up my ear to a lot of different things.
Well, speaking of Mascanata, we're going to take a little bit of break so we can play some of your music right now. We'll be right back, folks. This is No Excuses, and I'm here with my special guest, Carol Albert. Thanks for listening. Hey folks, we're back. This is No Excuses. I'm Rodney Arbona, and I'm here with my very special guest, Carol Albert, and we left off where she's traveling to Europe and being very receptive. And yeah, Europe has just got that multi-flair, multi-culture, just pretty much giving me everything you can throw at us because we love it. And that really allows artists like yourself to travel there very comfortably and make a career out of it even. And how many times were you over in Europe?
4.
4 times. And how were the kids like each? Did you bring them each time?
About 3 times they stayed with me while I was performing, and always met so many local people. They were like, "Oh, you have children. So and so can babysit," and it was a real wing it. I mean, it was a very courageous thing to do. But my children loved it, and they loved traveling. And then on the cruise ship, I played my stint. I was out of France, and I went to Spain and England and Ireland. And so they came over. I brought them over afterwards. We stayed in France and traveled for 3 weeks and saw a lot of, did something every day.
That's awesome. And that's just a wonderful education all in itself, to be going to different cultures. And I'm sure now it must play into their lifestyle.
It does, absolutely.
That's great. So we got a couple things going on. We got our new album came out, right? On My Way.
Right.
How's that working? That's beautiful music. It's almost like a big band sound. You got so many different instruments going on. Playing band myself in school, and big jazz band type of music. I could feel a lot of vibe going on. A lot of high energy. It's fantastic. What inspired you to do something like this?
Well, I wrote this a few years back and put it on one of my first albums and decided to re-record it now because, a little background, I took some time off and I had some record contract. So I got remarried and took some time off from just traveling and recording, and recorded some independent things. But in the past couple of years, my husband was a triathlete, and he suddenly passed away with a heart attack. And so I thought, I need to do something with my life, and I need to music was still calling me, so I had a friend encourage me, well, let's do another album. And so I did a Christmas album, and then I launched into, I wanted to re-record Muscanata. Okay, let's do that as a single. And then my friend, who's a musician and producer, said, well, On My Way is a good song. Let's redo that one. I said, great, because it's very positive. It's kind of part of my plan on reinventing myself. And I think a lot of women, I'm not a spring chicken, can identify. A lot of people in general in my age group, you reach a point in your life, you think, well, I went this direction, it took a different turn, and, I'm reinventing myself. And I kind of embraced On My Way. It's reinventing myself to, on my way in a new direction. So that was a big reason for that. My album coming out, Fly Away Butterfly, is about a journey, kind of reinventing myself, going through that. It may not say it in so many words, but it's going through, different moods, different songs, and part of it's instrumental, part of it's vocal. And so that's just, I think music for every artist represents where you are, and that's, I think, well, this is where I'm at. So,
Carol, it's very inspiring to hear this from you. It's because in so many directions, people fear change, and here you are looking at it and saying, this is where it is, there's no need to fight it, and thank you for sharing such music that's going to inspire people to realize it's okay to go through change. There's no reason to fear. It's okay to have multiple pathways, and sometimes, unfortunately, like yourself, you don't know when something's going to change without your control, like with your husband. And there's many people beside yourself like that, and I know many myself, so it's very warming, and I thank you much for sharing this story, because, again, having a no excuses lifestyle, not to plug my show, it's what this is all about. And it's really artists of you that share their stories, their inspirations, and touch so many people. And I thank you for it.
Well, again, I think it's something so many people can relate to. I don't think any of us go through our lives without some difficulties, like you said, and so I like to think that if I can inspire someone, that would be great, just to live my life authentically. So that's
fantastic.
My goal.
Yes, that's a great goal. We're going to take a little bit of break so we can get in some more of your music, and you mentioned a few of them. And we'll be right back, folks. This is No Excuses, and I'm here with my special guest, Carol Albert. We'll be right back. Hey folks, this is No Excuses and we're back. I'm Rodney Arbona. I'm here with my very special guest, Carol Albert, and she was so kind to share a very touching story and inspiring us as well with her pathways and what's been going on in her life and how she's looking at those challenges and moving forward flourishingly with such beautiful music of so many different songs. And again, I'm going to go back to Más que Nada because I just can't get enough of that. I could play that thing with, this time of year is perfect, the Jeep top is down, no plug for Jeep. And you just feel like you're on vacation every time you hear that song. It's impossible not to want to just continue listening to it. So let's go over a few other things. I mean, you had so much opportunity of playing for such great people like Henry Kissinger and Muhammad Ali, and so many other venues. What is it like playing for people of that stature? And they're pleased to see you. I mean, that's like a twist.
It's really inspiring. I was playing piano for a private event, a corporate event, and it was honoring Muhammad Ali. And he actually came up and sat down with me and played. You know, I don't know if you know that he played the piano.
No, I did not.
He sat down and played the piano with me.
Wow.
So it was awesome. And he was so nice. And he was still able, he was suffering, but he was still able to function in his illness. And and then Henry Kissinger, that was awesome. I never really talked to him, but I mean, he just emanated this powerful presence. I've never been around someone that has such a powerful, presence. I guess, aura. And I've really had great opportunities to play different events, for different people, a lot of corporate events. Corporations do support musicians.
Yes, they do.
I mean, not probably on purpose, but they want entertained, and
Sure.
so we're to do that.
And when you talk corporate events, for people to know, we're not talking little corporations. We're talking big companies like AT&T, Motorola, IBM. I mean, that's very significant all on its own to be a part of organizations like that.
Right.
When they call on you like that, I mean, it's an honor.
Yeah.
Now, when you play for them, do they select the music for you, or do they have an idea of what they want to play, or they just say, "Hey, Carol, you know what? Come and do your thing, and we just want to enjoy an experience from you."
Play, entertain us.
That's great. That's simple for you because you do a marvelous job at it, Carol.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So, what's on our plate for Carol? What's like day like for Carol at this point, outside of music? What hobbies do we have?
Well, I'm very simple. I like gardening. I'm a very simple person. I like getting outdoors, hiking. Have completed 3 marathons, and
Good for you.
So I've done the athletic thing. Not running as much right now. Sort of taking a little break. Want to get back into it, but pull my running shoes back out. But I like life. I like living life.
That's
I like
marvelous.
seeing my friends. I don't see them enough, but musicians, the successful musicians have very busy lives. People think we sleep till noon all day. That's not true. I get up and I'm on the computer. I'm, thinking about music and arrangements, and then life stuff.
Yes.
And someone's like, "Well, what's the life stuff?" It's like, well, you know what life stuff is.
That's
and
right. We all have the life stuff.
Keep your lights on, and I still have some students. I have some piano students that I
That's
like
marvelous.
myself as a mentor for young students. So I enjoy my teaching, and I compose music for my students. I am hopefully going to launch into a line of music for students to play for solo. And I have a lot of them, but I just haven't scored them and published them and put them on my website yet. But that's another offshoot that I want to do.
That's fantastic. Now, when you teach, are you teaching privately or are you going back to the university?
No, I teach private.
Oh, my goodness.
Private lessons.
What a lucky student.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
fantastic.
All ages. So.
Really? How many students do you have?
Right now, I have 18. But
Oh, goodness.
at one point, I had 50.
50? 50?
Yeah.
Wow.
50. So that's my focus. I'm composing a lot, writing a lot of new music, and working on recording. It's a very cross-section.
Yes, and I was going to ask, when you write your music, where's your inspiration coming from? Is it something that happens? I know a lot of your music is things that happen in your life, but currently, I mean, you talk about hiking, and I know when I go hiking, because I live in the mountains myself, so many things goes through your minds from all the different sounds that you hear. It never seems like it ever sounds the same twice, but you do get very inspired when you're out in nature. Is that a part of what inspires you as well?
Yes, in the way that it just cleanses my mind.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the kookiest things, but it does. It clears your mind, and I think to be an artist, you have to go in those spaces that you get away from the junk, you get away from the noise, and it clears your mind, and that's what I use it for. And yes, it's good for your body, but it's just the focus to. And then when I really clear my mind, then I hear music, and someone says, well, do you hear it all the time, or is it just when you want? It's like...
Do you hear voices?
Well, I hear music, but in a good way. I don't... And it's impossible for me to even drive in the car and listen to the radio and not be plugged into, oh, there's that part, there's that part. So my mind is always thinking about music.
That's great. My brother musician, and I play as well, but one thing he taught me about nature, it's always in the major scale, and I never really realized it until he said something like that. And then the next time I went hiking and I heard the birds and I got other animals running around and the rustling of the feathers, it's like, wow, it is always very positive sounds. It's very rare you hear a negative sound when you go hiking or you're in nature. We're going to take a little bit of a break right now again so we can get to hear some of Carol's music. We'll be right back, folks. Thanks for listening. This is No Excuses, and I'm here with my very special guest, Carol Albert. We'll be right back.
Vuela, vuela, vuela lejos, mariposa. Vuela, Vuela, mariposa. Vuela, vuela, vuela.
Folks, this is No Excuses, and we're back, and my name's Rodney Arbona, and I'm here with my very special guest, Carol Albert, and we were just going over her musical career and what inspired her. And one thing I want to go into is your new album.
My new album is Fly Away Butterfly.
Fly Away Butterfly.
The single is One Way, Al Jarreau, and it's an instrumental, piano-focused instrumental, but it's Al Jarreau's From His Heart's Horizon album, and it's a beautiful, really beautiful song, but it's also a good summer song. You're talking about, putting the top down and, letting your hair fly in the wind, and it's a great cruising song too. Of course, Al Jarreau was such a wonderful performer and entertainer.
He is, and because of his passing, did that inspire you? Was that a part of like a tribute to Al?
Yes, this is a tribute. I'm not doing a vocal arrangement because who could matter? No, I would never pretend to do that. But it's instrumental. I'm doing background vocals on it, but it's still very much, his song. It's a very positive, upbeat song as well.
Yes, it is. Yeah, trying to mimic Al Jarreau vocally is like virtually impossible. He had such a unique sound, and we were very blessed to have him and the music that he shared with everybody. So good for you, Carol. And are you planning on doing any of his other songs? Because I could see you doing very well by this for us.
Not at this moment. This one is going to be on the album, and maybe later, but I have original songs. I'm going to put On My Way, which is current now, on some stations. That's an original, and Mascanada go on there, and some new originals. So I think it's going to be a strong project and for release this summer. And I did a video of the title, Fly Away Butterfly, and to just kind of launch back in for a moment on my purpose of the theme for me is there are a lot of words. One of my friends says, well, but there's no word except Fly Away Butterfly. It's like, well, I did that for a reason. It's in that ambient, smooth jazz realm, but it's basically to talk about feeling free. Like, I just want to be free. I want to fly away. And the blue butterfly, I went to Costa Rica last year, is very symbolical. And I happened to be hiking and saw a blue butterfly. It's like supposed to be it's very symbolical to me because it's embracing a change, it's embracing moving forward, and it's to symbolize luck. And so that's been my symbol, the blue butterfly. And it just sort of, not that I consciously did that, but it's sort of over the past year sort of morphed into that being the theme for the album. So that was why I did Fly Away Butterfly.
It's amazing how when our energy is in a certain situation that collectively things happen. And you talk about hiking in Costa Rica and you see this butterfly. And it's all the reason why this album came about. All these components, your energy is just going out there and you're receiving all this information you needed to just put together such a wonderful album.
Right.
It's amazing how it all happens.
Right. And that's why I put One Way on there as well, because One Way is about change, and this one way, to your love, with the words are very inspiring. And at the end of the day, it's about love too. I mean,
yes.
we all, at the end of the day, it comes down to love. And so
sure
it was a song to include in the compilation about movement and change.
And love is the most powerful energy, so that absolutely will conduct our emotions and how things happen in our life. We take love in all different degrees of power, but it's all those different degrees of power which pretty much dictates our path lines.
Right.
One of my favorite is your Morning Music album, and hearing all those songs on there, it's impossible not to wake up in a great mood.
Yeah, that's a piano solo album.
Yes.
And the funny thing about that is a friend of mine several friends of mine had a studio, and they said, well, why don't you just come in and do a piano? Because they had this beautiful Yamaha, 7'5" C7. And so I just went in one day and played for like 3 hours.
Wow.
And just played everything I knew, that I could think of, because I learn from music, I read music, but I also play everything usually just from memory or by ear. And so I just sat down and played, and I had like 2 albums worth of material, so I just called it Morning Music and Night Music. It's just, because I have a lot of people say, well, we just want to hear you play the piano, and there are other people, well, we want to hear you with a band, and that's kind of, I guess, my double nature, you know. But, so I just did a solo piano, and I thought about it recently, and it's like, well, maybe if I'd known that it was going to be more scrutinized, I might have done a better job or something. Maybe I would have given it a little more thought, but I just went in and played, and sometimes that's the best. Just did it live, did very little editing, just put it on the albums, and people love it. I mean, that's really been,
it's impossible not to love. It definitely sets the tone, I should say, for a great day and a great morning. You're up, if you're a coffee drinker, tea drinker, whatever you do in the morning, it's impossible not to hear it and say, wow, how could you not start your day with a big smile on your face, and who cares what the weather's like? This song's already set the tone.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Where can most people find Carol Albert? Is it your website? Is that the best place?
My website, or cdbaby.com, the independent artist right now. So I have a site on CD Baby, Carol Albert, and then my website, carolalbertmusic.com.
Okay, great. We have anything coming up soon?
Shows?
Yes.
I'm doing some local shows, some local festivals.
Good for you.
And maybe launch out next year. But for now, I'm just kind of a local girl, and releasing my album and working very diligently on that. And I don't know, I'm open to change.
That's great.
Just kind of embracing that.
Carol, I want to thank you. I can't believe how time just kind of flew by. Your story is so inspiring, and you've really overcame challenges that most people would hold on to. And I love the fact that you've took those challenges and realized there was something positive to do with them. So I want to thank you for being on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure to have this interview. Is there anything you'd like to say before we go?
Thank you for having me. When I saw the title of your show, the No Excuses, this is my show. This is the perfect show for me, because there are no excuses. I mean,
thank you.
We have challenges. Everyone has challenges.
Yes, we do.
What defines us is getting through those.
That's right. So thank you so much for saying that. I do appreciate it. And I can't wait to get to do this again with you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Please send me the music that we talked about. I'm looking forward to it. And I know we got more to talk about next time around, because we're always going to have something going on with you. And please, if there's anything going on that you want me to talk about, you got my way to contact me. So thanks for listening, folks. This has been Carol Albert. sharing her wisdom and her inspiration. I can't thank her enough. My name's Rodney Arbona. This is No Excuses, folks. Thanks once again for listening. I'll talk to you folks soon. Take care. Have a great day.